Hello, everyone! It's been a long time since The Walking Dead, and many fans have mentioned they're confused by Rick's spin-off series. Today, I'll be breaking down The Walking Dead, the ones who live in detail. Let's go back 7 years. Rick had first been impaled by a steel rod through his chest, and later, he sacrificed himself by firing at explosives on a bridge to destroy a massive zombie horde. Everyone believed Rick was dead, but what they didn't expect was that everything would change because of one person, Jadis. Although Jadis had been accepted by Rick's group, most people still didn't truly trust her. She started considering leaving and joining a powerful, mysterious organization, but in order to join, she would need to trade valuable people, so she set her sights on Gabriel. Jadis found an opportunity, knocked Gabriel unconscious, and contacted the organization to come and take him, but the next day, while waiting for them, she had a pang of conscience. After all, Gabriel was the only one in the group who had shown her kindness, so in the end, she abandoned the plan, but having no goods to trade was as good as betraying that mysterious organization, and by then, their helicopter was already on its way. There would be a price to pay for deceiving them. Jadis took out her gun, ready for a fight to the death, but suddenly, at that moment, she spotted Rick lying by the riverbank, gravely injured and on the verge of death. Goods, here they are, and with Rick's abilities surpassing everyone else's, the organization was bound to be satisfied.
I have a B. Not an A, I never had an A. He's hurt, but he's strong. Can you help him?
I warned you there'd be consequences if you tried something.
Not a trick. Not anymore.
And just like that, Rick was taken away by helicopter, carried off to that powerful and mysterious organization. It is just that Rick's injuries are too severe and it is unknown whether he can be cured. Because of Jadis, Rick's hopeful friends and family lost their chance to find him. Everyone assumed Rick had died, except for Michonne and Daryl, who refused to believe it and started searching in their own ways. 5 years later, Michonne discovered Rick's boots on a boat near an island, along with a phone with drawings of herself and Judith carved into it. She realized that her hope wasn't in vain. The brave man she loved might still be alive. By then, Judith had grown up enough to take care of her little brother, so Michonne set off on a journey to find Rick, never to be heard from again. 7 years have now passed, and everyone else has settled into a stable life. Daryl also prepared to leave, promising Judith and RJ that he would bring their mom and dad back. This brother who never had a true home of his own set out. Such a brother is something you can't ask for in many lifetimes. Eventually, word came that Daryl had, by some accident, ended up in Paris, France. So now, 7 years have passed, and everyone wonders, could Rick really be alive? Every fan watching has that same hope. And to our relief, Rick is indeed alive, but he can't go home. He's standing there, staring at the sky, full of despair, even contemplating ending it all. But after hesitating a moment, he puts down the piece of glass in his hand. Rick is trapped in a place called the Civic Republic, a massive stronghold with high-rise buildings housing hundreds of thousands of people. It's the largest known survivor base in the post-apocalyptic world. Across the river in the suburban outskirts, a military force of thousands is stationed to protect the area, with a strict hierarchy. At the bottom level, there's the culling facility, where most workers are survivors from the outside. They must follow the soldiers' orders to kill zombies, working for 6 years before they can qualify for life inside the city. Once you enter the Civic Republic, there's absolutely no leaving except through death. The purpose of this system is to keep the very existence of the Civic Republic hidden from the outside world. Rick has been here for 7 years now. By all rights, he could choose to live in the main city, but he refuses, knowing that staying on the outskirts is his only chance to escape and reunite with his family. He's attempted escape 3 times, each time ending in failure. Only once did he manage to throw his shoes and belongings onto a large boat. This later became the clue that Michonne discovered. The longer Rick stays here, the more he feels the power and omnipresence of the Civic Republic military. He realizes he's likely never getting out, and that despair nearly drove him to take his own life. But after a moment of thought, Rick decided to wait for the right opportunity to escape. Soon, the opportunity arrived. A massive swarm of flaming zombies advanced toward the city, prompting soldiers to assemble all the consignees to fight. These consignees would be on the front lines, in what was little more than a suicide mission, though they were told it was voluntary. The consignees were armed only with a standard-issue hatchet. Rick's situation was even worse, since he'd attempted escape so often. His left hand was shackled to a lead rope. Charging forward, Rick moved with practice, lethal efficiency, cutting through the nearest zombies. His fighting skills were as formidable as ever, and the lead rope tied to the soldier's waist was stretched tight, fraying as if it wouldn't hold much longer. As the zombies grew thicker, Rick's movements became frenzied as he charged ahead, moving so fast that the lead rope was close to snapping.
Sorry! Trying to find my axe.
When he'd cleared a few more zombies, Rick's expression turned grim, and he quickly wrapped a belt around his left wrist. That's right, this was Rick's plan all along. He intended to sever his hand and flee into the woods. In those brief seconds before acting, Rick hesitated. Was he really prepared to lose a hand forever? Agonizing pain surged through him, but Rick fought to steady himself and headed toward the depths of the forest. By now, the soldiers realized something was wrong and started to give chase. Rick's plan, however, had a flaw. Severing his hand meant uncontrollable bleeding, a near-certain death sentence. But then again, what was the point of living without hope? Glancing back, Rick saw the soldiers tangled with the zombies. Just as he was about to seize the opportunity to slip away, a flaming zombie lunged at him from the front. Although Rick managed to kill the zombie, the weakness and dizziness grew more intense. Blood was gushing from his arm, and in just a few minutes, he would likely pass out and slowly bleed to death. In desperation, he came up with a plan. He propped himself up with his one remaining hand and crawled toward the burning zombie. His back looked lonely and powerless. The flames still flickered within the zombie's corpse. If he wanted to stop the bleeding quickly, this was the only way. True to his reputation as a warrior forged in a brutal world, Rick endured the searing pain. Rick struggled to run, but a soldier had already closed in behind him and fired a stun round. It was really difficult. This was Rick's fourth escape attempt, and once again, it ended in failure. In this moment, he felt that staying alive was even less freeing than the zombies in front of him. The next morning, Rick awoke in his bed. For longtime fans of The Walking Dead, there's a shiver of shock in seeing Rick forced to sever his own hand. How much we wish it could have all been a dream, but the harsh reality is unavoidable. Rick Grimes has now become a one-armed warrior. The Civic Republic is a place that countless survivors dream of, a safe, orderly haven where, after 6 years of killing zombies on the outskirts, anyone can earn a good job inside. But this isn't Rick's dream. All he wants is to get back to Virginia to reunite with his wife and daughter. Whenever he thought of home, he would carve images of his wife and daughter onto his phone and take it out to look at them from time to time. Inside, there were also a few sheets of paper detailing his planned escape routes. He hid these in the couch to keep them from being discovered. After a day of recovery, Rick returned to his duties. Each day, the Civic Republic military would use vehicles to lure zombies from the surrounding area, leading the lowest-ranking consignees to kill them with melee weapons while soldiers monitored from behind. Rick has spent all 7 years here killing zombies, day in and day out. Though he's quiet, he's powerful. He holds the record for most zombies killed in a single day. Now, with one hand missing, he found it a bit hard to adjust. The man speaking to him is the sergeant in charge of the military forces here. By rights, Rick should have been executed after so many escape attempts. The only reason he's still alive is because of a commander named Okafor, who admires Rick and wants him to join his secret missions. But since he arrived, Rick has been silent and focused only on escaping. He's refused Okafor's offer every time. Okafor, however, is patient. He speaks gently to Rick, saying, "You're still fantasizing about escape? Stop dreaming."
I'm going back to work.
Rick, did you hear what I
You don't have to do this anymore.
Though Okafor was also frustrated, Rick's stubbornness and unique leadership qualities were exactly what he needed. Rick understands that Okafor's patience will run out eventually. Next time, there may be no one left to protect him. The longer Rick stays in the Civic Republic, the deeper his sense of helplessness grows. He doesn't know how he'll escape, and even if he did, he'd be hunted down. He's trapped in a fortress, a place that everyone outside longs to get into. While he desperately wants out, Rick channels his frustration into the relentless killing of zombies. His ferocity draws the attention of those around him, who stop to watch. What a madman! But Okafor only admires Rick more, unwilling to see him killed for another escape attempt. So Okafor crouched down beside Rick and reasoned with him.
There's no escape for the living. I left the uniform in your apartment. It's time to accept things for what they are. You crossed your hand last time, next time it's your life. Do something with it.
This is Okafor's final ultimatum: either put on a new uniform and work under him, or risk death the next time he tries to escape. After resting for a while, Rick changed into clean clothes and headed back to his apartment. Along the way, he couldn't stop thinking about Okafor's words. Then a glass bottle shattered near his feet. Rick looked up to see a woman drinking with a smirk on her face, saying, "I guess I should thank you for proving that escape is impossible." Rick's face darkened at her words, knowing it was a dig at him. Back in his room, he didn't look at the uniform on the table. Instead, he stared out the window at the wind turbine, still spinning. 7 whole years, the sheer strength of the Civic Republic had driven him to despair. Would he ever see Michonne and Judith again? Should he just give up on escape and settle into a life here? For the first time, he felt truly exhausted. His mind grew darker the more he thought, so he went down to the riverside and sat on a bench, staring across the water at the Civic Republic, the place so many survivors would give anything to enter. At that moment, a man walked over and struck up a conversation. He was a consignee who had arrived 6 years ago. In fact, the two didn't know each other. They had just spent 6 years killing zombies side by side. As Rick never spoke to anyone, the man, Esteban, had completed his term and was about to enter the Civic Republic. He'd heard about Rick cutting off his own hand in an escape attempt, and wanted to give some advice to this familiar yet distant comrade. Esteban said, "To us consignees, those buildings over there are paradise. They've got everything, even air conditioning. You don't even have to worry about getting damp sitting down. You know what I mean? Today's my last day here. Tomorrow, I'll be living across the river as a district utilities manager. My work here is done." Esteban grew more animated as he spoke, filled with anticipation for his new life. Esteban's cheerful attitude and humor lightened Rick's mood somewhat.
Thank you. Whatever the hell this is.
Yeah, well, it's life, man. At least this Okafor dude's gonna stop trying to make you into a soldier and shit. For real? Still?
He was surprised at Okafor's persistence. How, even with Rick now disabled, Okafor still wanted him to join. Esteban continued, "Honestly, you should just accept Okafor's offer. The higher your rank, the more you can go out. Once you're in that position, whatever you're planning has a better shot at success." Rick fell into deep thought at this, his mind beginning to open to new ideas. As for what Esteban said later, Rick didn't care to listen. Later, Rick dressed in a new uniform and headed to a large tent where Okafor lived. Okafor was pleased that Rick had come around and called for the army medic to fit Rick with a prosthetic arm. Hidden inside was a razor-sharp dagger, perfect for combat. From that moment on, Rick left behind his role as a consignee and became a true soldier. To his surprise, during combat training, his sparring partner turned out to be the same woman who had thrown a bottle at him. It turned out that Pearl, like Rick, was another restless soul with thoughts of escape. And, as it happened, Okafor had his eye on both of them. Perhaps he saw some unique quality in them. Over the next year, they trained daily, even learning how to pilot a helicopter. Gradually, Rick came to realize just how powerful the Civic Republic truly was. Hundreds of thousands of residents lived within its walls, completely isolated from the outside world. Only the military maintained any contact beyond the city. They also discovered 2 other large human settlements, Portland and Omaha. These 2 locations were mentioned in The Walking Dead, World Beyond. Rick first realized his own insignificance. One night, Okafor took Rick and Pearl outside the city and had an open, honest conversation with them. For the first time, they learned some classified information. For instance, people brought in from the outside were divided into 2 categories. Those with valuable abilities were classified as A. Others were assigned as B, purely for manual labor. In short, A-class people could join the military ranks and even rise to leadership. Okafor saw the indomitable spirit in Rick and Pearl, which is why he invited them to join his squad. His plan was to train them as leaders and eventually change the Civic Republic from within. The military's top leader was apparently working on some other plan, though for now, Rick and Pearl didn't have clearance to know what it was. If they wanted to uncover the true secrets of the Civic Republic, they would have to rise to the rank of corps members. Clearly, Okafor intended to groom Rick and Pearl as trusted allies, with the ultimate goal of transforming the entire military. Rick was astonished by this revelation but cooperated with Okafor's plans. The Civic Republic held countless secrets far beyond the reach of those at the bottom. Sometimes, during his morning runs, Rick would see Okafor returning with a small team, covered in blood, their faces blank, Additionally, the soldiers' uniforms were different, with a red thread running through them. No one passing by dared to step forward and ask questions, but Rick saw all of this as unrelated to him. The only thing he wanted was to use his position as a soldier to find a way back home. Soon, an opportunity arose. Rick was about to be assigned a mission near the outskirts of the Civic Republic. If he could get a map of the sewer routes, he could slip away unnoticed and then use a zombie to pose as him. It was the perfect plan, but the key piece he needed was the map of the sewer routes. And Rick thought of just the person who could help Esteban, the man who had greeted him a year ago and was now assistant water manager.
Hey, where's your consignment jacket? And how the hell are you even here if it's not a furlough day? Oh, you joined the CRM.
Without hesitation, Rick pulled out a hand-drawn layout and explained his request. Esteban was shocked, knowing that helping Rick could cost him his life. He was about to refuse, but Rick stopped him.
I won't stop. I'm getting there. I'm getting home. Or I'm dying. That's it.
Esteban was a man of integrity and could tell that Rick's desperation to leave must mean he had important family on the outside, but this was against the rules, and if he got caught, he'd be executed. Still, Esteban quickly changed his tone and said, I won't say anything, won't tell you that this tunnel leads to the end, and certainly won't tell you there's an exit at this corner, and if you find an iron gate with a code lock on it, I definitely won't tell you that the code is 4399.
Alright, but you don't have to die, man. So don't f***ing die, okay?
Rick has met a good person, though the risks were immense. Rick would not give up on the idea of returning home. He went back and began preparations immediately. After over a year of planning, his chance of success was now 80%. Finally, he had hope of returning, and his spirits rose. Will Rick's plan succeed? Stay tuned for the next exciting episode.